No.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Let's Give It a Voice. With myself, the host, Clarice Angafor, and today we are going to give a voice to special needs burnout. And we are going to look at the symptoms of burnout. We're going to look at the causes, we're going to look at prevention, treatment, and of course, necessary support. We are also going to talk about just a brief definition of what special needs are and why we are particularly interested in special needs burnout. So you are tuned onto the Voice of Hope Media, and this edition is Let's Give It a Voice. At the Voice of Hope Media, we educate, we empower, we inspire, we also give hope to those who have faced or those who are facing challenging or complex life issues, including special educational needs. The Voice of Hope Media is a platform where it is actually a safe space where we encourage people to speak out, to speak up, and know that they will be heard without being judged or stigmatized. So here we encourage people to talk about those topics which most often people think they are taboo. They are taboo topics not to be talked about. So we have a panel of ladies, different professions, but we have one thing in common. We are all parents, we are all moms, and we are all moms of special needs children. More especially, we are moms of children who are autistic. So, because yesterday was the 10th of October and it was World Mental Health Day. Mental health is something which most often people do not really want to talk about. Yes, but it is absolutely necessary to talk about our mental health because we know that mental health should equally be as important as our physical health. So one of the things which most parents of children with special needs, one of the things that they struggle with usually is the mental health. And because they carry on and on and on, they do quite a lot without even realizing. And then it turns out to become burnout in the long run. And with burnout, if not detected or if not treated, at the very beginning, it's going to become a very big problem and it's going to be an issue in the long run to be treated. So today on our show, we have Auntie So Basi all the way from the US. We have Marie Vogo. She's also from the US. We have Patient Abonge from the UK. We have our Mom Sewa Geno, all the way from Ghana. And we have our other sister, Bernadette Defortune Kilo. Like I said, we are all moms and we are special needs moms. We are moms who have children with one form of special needs or the other. And aside from being parents, we are also professionals in various areas. So as we are here today, what we are going to do is we will look at the what special needs is, just a brief definition. And I know so many people will be wondering why we are concentrating on special needs and burnout. You will get to know in the course of the show. We are also going to look at the symptoms of burnout, the causes, prevention, and treatment. So I also think that everyone at some point in their life, they will experience burnout because we are juggling all the responsibilities that parenthood brings. So, and sometimes it seems like it's unending. We keep going on and on and on. But with a special needs parent or a special needs mom, their activities, their responsibilities, or their caregiving responsibilities to their children, they kind of double, triple, or even quadruple sometimes, depending on the needs of the child. But with all this extra responsibility that a special needs parent has, in a single day, we have only 24 hours, but we still have to carry on because of the love we have for our children. Because we know that no matter how your child is born, you have to give your child that time. You have to take care of them. You have to love. You have to understand. You have to accept them just the way they are. So I'm going to pass on the mic to my guest speaker for them to introduce themselves. Then we continue from there. Auntie So, over to you for introduction.
My name is So Bassi. I reside in California in the US. I'm originally from Sierra Leone. I have a 30-year-old son with autism. I'm a nurse, a public health nurse, and also I did a certified autism specialist. Nice to meet you all.
Thank you so much, Auntie So. Over to you, Mary. Welcome once more. Hold on. I think you're muted. Hold on. Okay, that's fine. Over to you. We can't hear you. Check your volume. Okay. Oh, yeah. Check your mic as well. No, we can't hear you. Okay. While you are sorting your mic, then we can move on to um Bernadette. Would you like to introduce yourself while we're waiting for?
Absolutely. My name is Bernadette Kilo. I am the mother of three special needs children. Um, I reside in Atlanta, Georgia, and all three of mine on the spectrum. So when I honestly say I have the entire autism spectrum in my house, I literally mean it. I am also, by training, I am a medical doctor, and I am, I would say, destined, or that was destiny for me. I work as an autism consultant with the medical group that I work for. That was not my plan, but I was found and dug up from somewhere and asked to do that job, which I so happily took it. And I am also the program coordinator for everything autism, also the subject matter expert for the company for anything related to autism.
Mhm.
Um, I'm familiar with a few of you on the forum, especially Sarah Kwanya, Autism Center in Ghana. And I am very interested in anything autism related, specifically for our community. A lot of work in the community to help raise awareness to autism here in Atlanta. And
Okay.
that's just a few of some of the things that I do.
Mm-hmm. Right. Thank you so much for that. And thank you once more for honoring our invite. And we'll move over to Mom Sewa. Mom, welcome
Thank
to the
you.
show tonight.
Yes, I was having some internet challenges. It's okay. My name is Sewa Quaynor. Everybody calls me Auntie Sewa. I'm the mom of son who is 38 years old, and he was diagnosed at age 2. So, in those days, there was no therapy, basically. And I live in Ghana now. I moved to Ghana when his hormone set in, and as God would have it, I started the Autism Awareness Care and Training Center in Ghana. It just kind of just fell into my lap. This isn't something I had wanted to do.
Yeah.
It's like, what, are you crazy? You're having all these challenges and you want to take more children. But it's made me an advocate for many years. We've been running the center for 22 years. I think I know my sister, so, and Bernadette, and of course my daughter, the moderator, and the others fellow. So I'm very passionate about autism and other special needs, but I especially focus on only autism because I think the need is so great that I had to just focus on that. And I'm having a lot of people wanting me to do other special needs. Although I've had experience working in the US, I wasn't working, I was a volunteer. But I called that working because I was stay-at-home mom for many years. And the way I learned about autism was to learn at the school. And I worked with other children for Down syndrome, cerebral palsy, and profound challenges. And I've also been trained at the Hot Spring Center for Special Needs. And I just have continued training. I'm always training wherever I can get training. And basically, that is me. And I'm just happy to be here and to see my friends and also meet new people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mom. Mary, would you like to try again? Let's see if your volume is okay. No, we can't hear you. I think, yeah, you have to check. Hi, Pei. Do you want to introduce yourself? Then we continue from there.
Hi, my name is Patience Abonge. I am based in the UK and I'm from Cameroon, just as Clarice is, and I've got a 6-year-old son. Oh, sorry, an 8-year-old son who is autistic, who is on the autism spectrum as well. And yeah, I'll say autism is it's part of me. So anything that has to do with autism or any topic that has to do with autism is a point of interest for me because it's what I live with daily. So it's a pleasure to be, especially in the midst of moms who have had the experience for 30 years. So I was really interested to be here today so I can learn and equally add to what I know, the 8 years experience that I know. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Pei. Welcome once more. Of course, we do learn every day, even with my experience. My 15-year-old, that means almost 15 years experience. It's still a learning process. Because each stage of the life, something new comes up. So all of us here open to new ideas and to learn and also to share what we have with other people out there. So if we are starting, then we will start by maybe just a brief definition of what special needs is, because we are talking about special needs burnout. So in the clinical diagnostic and functional development, the term special needs or additional needs describes individuals who require assistance for disabilities that may be medical, mental, or psychological. So it says guidelines for clinical diagnosis are given in both the diagnostic and statistical manual of mental disorders and international classification of diseases, the 9th edition. Special needs can range from people with autism, Asperger's syndrome, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, dyslexia, dyspraxia, blindness, deafness, ADHD, and cystic fibrosis. They can also include um, cleft lips and missing limbs. The types of special needs vary in severity, and a student being a severe case when the student's IQ is between 20 and 35. So usually these students typically require assistance in school and have different services provided for them to succeed in a different settings. So special needs is some sort of an umbrella term with autism, Down syndrome, and those other disabilities under. So we are going to talk about special needs burnout today. And why burnout? Because it is the constant going on and on with activities in your life that sometimes we do not create time, that in the long run it can actually lead to more problems, or it can equally lead to mental health issues like depression, anxiety, or extreme cases of stress. So we are going to start by looking at some of the symptoms of special needs burnout. And will it be okay if I start with you, Auntie Sowo? Some of the
Oh,
symptoms, yeah.
well, since I've been on this journey for 30 years, and
Mm-hmm.
as you said, we are still learning every day.
Yeah,
And this is how we can say things that we learned when my son was diagnosed, just like hers in the 90s. Not much was known about autism.
yeah.
So we were learning. We did not know anything. The parents, even the doctors, did not know. So it's
Mm,
like go with the flow or learn as you go. So most of the symptoms of burnout is when the parent, a son does something or behavior and you get so agitated. Sometimes either you are shaking the child or doing something, or
mm-hmm.
you are blaming the child or throw things. Anytime the child behaves, you blame yourself. If
Yeah.
I have only done that. So all of those, when you start seeing the anger and the frustration in you and you feel that helplessness, those
Mm-hmm.
are all signs that you are burning out.
Yeah.
Like I've reached my end. There's nothing I can do anymore. I've fed this boy. I've done it. I've read to him. He's still kicking and throwing things, and you cannot handle it. Those are all signals to you that you've reached your maximum. And if you are able to identify when did I get that click, when did I feel my heart pounding, or I have done everything, I've come from work, I'm doing everything the doctor told me or the therapist told me to do, I'm
Mm-hmm.
doing it, but it's not working.
Yeah.
And that helplessness is the main thing you feel. You
Yeah.
feel like I have nothing else in me, I'm drained.
Mm-hmm. All right. Yeah. In addition to that, burnout is a state of emotional, physical, and mental exhaustion caused by excessive and prolonged stress.
Mm.
So it occurs when you feel overwhelmed, emotionally drained, and unable to meet constant demands. Then, as the stress continues, you begin to lose the interest and motivation that led you to take on a certain role in the first place. So, special needs in this case, because we are all parents of special needs children, especially children with autism. And so at some point in their life, they experience a different challenging behaviors, just like what Auntie Soho has said. At times, they may kick out with meltdowns or tantrums or cry or even push or kick someone. But the way you react towards what the child has done can actually determine whether you are almost at that stage of burnout or not. So, Ben, from professional experience, what do you think will be some of the symptoms if you've worked with parents, and have you experienced anyone who has had symptom of burnout before?
Absolutely, absolutely. I get a lot of parents who um, sometimes a lot of them come to us. They don't have
Mm-hmm,
the signs of burnout, or they're coming either because majority of the cases are usually with
mm-hmm,
the older kids that I get. And the reason why they're coming, or the parents are coming at that time, is when the parent has accepted that there exists a challenge that goes beyond the initial diagnosis of
Mm-hmm.
a behavior or mood disorder. And then autism becomes a point of interest to seek further assessment. And when you get a case where you're excited, and then when you talk to that mother and you realize this is not a
Yeah.
burnout that started yesterday. This is a burnout that has been in existence since this child was 3. When the mother talks to her, the only thing, the only answer to her question, no matter what I ask, is help me. And she's crying and she's saying, help me. That's the only answer I get. That's when I know this mom is burned out completely and she can't find any
Mm-hmm.
words to tell me what is actually going on with that child so that I could actually help. And what I know for sure that what helps personally is for parents to first acknowledge the first. You first have to acknowledge that a deficit exists, whether it's autism or not. They have to first accept that. And then, once they first acknowledge it, once they acknowledge it, then they tend to accept it. And then once they accept it, they have to act upon it, which is the one thing I encourage. That's also my slogan for a personal or private business that I run at the same time, which is called the 3B's Autism Consulting. We
Mm-hmm.
and I have to teach parents to first acknowledge and then accept and then act
Yeah.
upon burdens that.
Okay.
And
Mm-hmm.
once you do that, it helps a little bit. The other
Mm-hmm.
thing is a strong support system.
Yeah. I think I think we will be coming a little bit later with coping mechanisms or how to support. At the moment, we just look at what are some of the symptoms, because sometimes, like I for one, I've experienced burnout before in the past, but I never knew exactly what that was. So it had to take maybe it had to take a tragic incident for me to actually realize that I needed some time to myself. I needed to start practicing self-care. So at the moment, it's really necessary for us to know how to identify what is it that we can look out for to start seeking help, to know that this may be signs of burnout. So, Pei, have you experienced any before, any symptoms, signs of burnout? Let me see. Read it.
So when I just had the diagnosis of my son being autistic,
Mhm.
when we had the diagnosis, so we were in Germany, and when I moved to the UK, we had that transition from Germany to UK to get a new school for my son. So I was still in the that I was still not I had not fully accepted his condition.
Yeah.
That was still new to me, and then the school was not helping because they could not understand my son, because I expected them being a school for them to give him that professional help. Though it wasn't a special needs school, but every now and then I had to, like, for instance, I'll drop my son off at school. Before I get home, I'll be called to come and get him that he's throwing tantrums. And so at one point, I couldn't handle all of that. I just felt like I was so stressed up to the point where I couldn't even, I would say, breathe sometimes. So I couldn't handle all of it. I felt stress and anxiety all over my body because it was a lot for me to handle at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So with that experience and all of that, that kept on going, it further led to me being depressed and stuff. So yeah.
Okay. Thanks for that. How about you, Mom Sewa? Uh, have you experienced any form of burnout before, and what were the symptoms?
Oh, with burnout. like I think with everything that has been said, for me, I find myself irritable
Mm-hmm.
and you avoid going out. You kind of avoid any social settings, anything. Like you feel like, oh, why me? This is just me. And you must remember in those days, it was really just me. Everywhere I went, it was like, okay, so that why don't I just stay in my corner and do whatever? But then you find there's a lot of negativity that because you're really like feeling like you're all alone and there's no one. And me at that time, I've never heard of, well, in the nursing side, I forgot to mention that I was a nurse practitioner, but I've been doing autism forever. That's behind. So I have heard about autism, but then the things that come with it, like and then your marriage, even there's a fracture in the marriage. So while you're dealing with your son and you're married to an African man, you also have to deal with all the different things that go with it. And then if you have another child or other children, that you're like trying to do too much of everything but yourself. And you don't take time. You don't even take the time that I realized that I didn't take time for me at all. He's always trying first, my son comes first. And then it affects the rest of the family. And it's like there's no cohesion. And it's like your life has been described. At that time, I was depressed, but I didn't even know I was depressed because it's like, oh, now I was into my negativity. That oh, even if I went somewhere, that anybody hadn't done anything, I was suspecting they were talking about me and my son. It was quite bad. But I lived in an area where it was only white people, and so my paranoia was even worse because you already hear people who are showing racism, but then you go to church and then they're smiling and whatnot. But you see people at the supermarket and oh, so are they really avoiding you or you're thinking things? But with the burnout, it really affects many, 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 many things. And so for me, the symptoms and then it's like a low self-esteem section, and that's not who you are. But before you know it, you're going through all these things, like the patient just said it. It's like you feel so alone and no one to talk to because there's no one who understands. You mentioned, oh, my son has autism, and you're constantly explaining yourself. This is why I feel like it is, I feel like you have to support mothers because this constantly explaining yourself wherever you go. You go to church, your son has got somebody's bag. You go to church and he's done this or he's done this. And I have been through the gamut of all the stages from little through the teen years till now.
Yeah.
Now I have burnout because I understand, you know, what burnout is. And I refuse. It is something I think we'll get to that later. But burnout can be horrible. It can make you ill. I mean, physically ill. You have all kinds of symptoms that you don't even expect. Because for me, the doctor kept saying, I was always in pain. My joints, my severe headaches, and because lack of sleep, if you're not sleeping. So the burnout is real, and it's real for a lot of parents. And I think you name it, and I have burnout because it is by God's grace that I'm still married. Because I think that's one thing that a lot of mothers go through, and African mothers especially, because they have to. Our husbands, they're African men. We have to cook, support the home the way you know it. You can't say you're not going to cook when your child hasn't, you haven't even slept, you're going to work and it's the home. And if the mother is working, even worse, because you have to go to work and be alert at work. And this is always like this. You have to be alert at the doctor. Be alert. You know what to do. So it's really, really difficult. It's really challenging.
Well, special needs burnout, it's real and it affects so many of us without sometimes without us even realizing that we are struggling, unfortunately, because many do not even understand what special needs is or what autism is. Sometimes they cannot even help you, the parent, struggling. Let's see if Marie's volume is okay now. Marie, can you hear us? um we can't hear you. Let me see.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Oh
Yes.
my God. Welcome.
Finally.
So introduce yourself now,
Okay.
and then we continue from there. Thank you so much for persevering.
Yeah. Okay. My name is Marie Vogo. I'm from Cameroon. I live in Maryland, US, in the US. I'm a mom of a 10 years old with autism. Um, I'm also a physician assistant. I also train in a biomedical intervention for autism. So I'm a mentor. I'm a part of an organization called TACA. TACA Autism is one of the big organizations here in US. I'm a mentor, TACA mentor. I mentor newly diagnosed. I'm a parent with newly diagnosed kids. How to delve into getting therapy, IEP, all those things, diet, some supplement to help with some kind like behavior. um, I also have a WhatsApp group with more than 60 parents with a kid with autism in Cameroon. And I coach those parents on mainly on biomedical intervention such as diet, some kind of like gut treatment, all those things. Um, so I'm happy to be here. I feel like my life is all about autism. So I can't spend 1 second without thinking autism, and I'm who I am today because of autism. So everything autism interests me. I'm very passionate about it, and I really, really like to help my fellow sister and brother who are going through the same thing I've been through. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Mary, and we are really grateful for you honoring our invite today. And welcome to anyone who is watching. And if you're watching, and if you have any questions, just type them in the comments box. For our guest speakers, may be able to come back to the questions later. So we were actually talking about the symptoms of burnout. So everyone has already said something about some of the symptoms of burnout which they've experienced in the past. So what about you? Have you experienced any burnout in your journey as an autism mom? And if you have, what have been some of them? How did you feel?
Oh, I don't think there's any parent out there who did not experience some of the symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
Um, what I would say is that it's hard to tell when you're burnout.
Yeah.
From the time your kid is diagnosed,
Yeah,
you go
Marie,
you
can I just interrupt you a little bit?
yeah,
For the purposes of our francophone brothers and sisters, when I
yeah.
ask the question in English, can you speak in French? So because I know a few people indicated if we are going to have a bilingual show, so I'll be grateful if you can answer in French. Is that
Okay.
okay? Yeah, yeah,
Okay, so instead of speaking English, I just go to French.
yes. Just go to French. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I can try. Okay.
Yes, you
Oh,
can.
euh, bonjour, bonjour mes parents qui sont connectés. Euh, je pense que beaucoup me connaissent. Moi, c'est Marie Bernadette Vogo. Euh, j'ai déjà parlé en anglais pour me présenter. Je ne veux pas revenir. En fait,
Mm-hmm.
je voulais parler un peu de certains symptômes de la fatigue mentale, quoi. Fatigue mentale associée à que les parents des enfants autistes connaissent. Et je pense que chaque parent qui a un enfant autiste a connu cette fatigue. Et ce qui est important, c'est que c'est de réaliser très tôt, avant que les choses ne deviennent plus graves,
Mhm.
qu'on est en train d'avoir la fatigue mentale, quoi. Et c'est un signe qu'il faut, je pense qu'il y a des signes qui sont associés à la fatigue mentale et qu'on doit veiller. Quand on a ces signes-là, on doit prendre une pause et réexaminer, quoi. Donc, l'un des symptômes de ça, c'est quand on se met des attentes très, pas raisonnables, quoi. Quand la journée a 24 heures et on programme peut-être 50 activités par jour en se disant qu'on est, je sais pas, on est super membre et on pourra faire tout ça. Donc, il faut être raisonnable sur ses attentes et savoir qu'on est, on est des personnes, quoi. On n'est pas des dieux, quoi. On n'a pas de force illimitée. Voilà un des symptômes. Quand on ne s'arrête, ça dit que quand on pense à l'autisme chaque seconde de sa vie, c'est vrai que c'est difficile de chasser ça, mais il faut pas toujours penser à ça de façon négative. Parfois, ça peut venir, on pense à notre enfant parce qu'on aime notre enfant, on veut tout lui donner, mais à certains moments, on doit penser aussi, pas seulement à son autisme, mais à ce qu'il a de positif. Donc, essayer de recadrer. Et j'ai une parole que j'ai souvent, je dis toujours aux gens que si on n'aime pas sa vie, on ne peut pas être content. On ne peut pas être joyeux si on n'aime pas sa vie. Donc, il faut accepter déjà sa vie. Ça prend du temps d'accepter l'autisme. Ça, c'est difficile. Mais quand on l'a déjà accepté et qu'on décide peut-être d'aider notre enfant à être plus indépendant, il faut toujours veiller à ce qu'on ait du repos, qu'on ait du temps pour nous. Si on aimait parfois se coiffer, mettre le vernis, même si on ne le fait plus chaque jour, qu'on ait toujours un temps pour le faire, quoi. Donc, quand on n'a plus envie de le faire, ça c'est aussi une des symptômes. Quand on n'a plus envie de faire des activités qu'on aimait avant, et puis ça ne nous dit rien. Et quand nos amis, on veut plus se retrouver avec nos amis, peut-être ils nous appellent, ils disent, oh, allons quelque part, on est toujours en train d'annuler les rendez-vous. Ça, c'est aussi un des symptômes. Il y a aussi les émotions, quoi. Quand on est toujours, on peut quitter, on est fâché à 1 minute, on est triste l'autre minute et la minute qui suit, on est irritable. On commence, il faut checker nos émotions, quoi, et puis réaliser qu'il y a quelque chose qui ne va pas. Et puis, prendre en fait, demander de l'aide. Parfois, on ne sait pas ce qui nous arrive, mais au moins parler à quelqu'un et demander de l'aide. En fait, je vais m'arrêter là.
Thank you so much, Marie. Yes, we are going to we are still going to get to treatment, to like somebody asking for help. That's one form of support. So let's move on to some of the causes. We already know that we are special needs mom, and just being a special needs mom or a parent with an autistic child or a child with any form of disability, it's already it's already a cause for having a burnout. But what are some of the causes? Can I start with you, Ben? If we can look at the causes, that we just maybe about one or two, then we move over to Mom Sewa and Auntie so we get what the causes are. This may be able to help people as well, because if you know what causes you to feel that way or to be emotionally overwhelmed, then you can do things to minimize that. So over to you, Ben.
A lot of times, some of the causes for burnout, in my case, personally, it's pretty much what Marie said in her talking. When you schedule too much to do within the 24 hours. You only have 24 hours in a day to take care of anything. So when you have pretty much it's unrealistic to be able to accomplish because as special needs parents, we already have as a parent, we already have a list of things to do. But the special needs parent, the list is already it's there's more to it than just a typical parent. And so realizing that there's no way you can accomplish all those things. So that for me was my personal was one of the personal the causes for my burnout. And the
Mm.
other thing is when you don't have enough, and this was not in my case per se personally, but from what I've gotten from, I get from a lot of parents, not only from other parts, but also culturally within our community, is the lack of community support. Um, when you have to keep like Auntie Sarah said, when you have to constantly have to explain yourself, it becomes draining. And
Yeah.
a lot of times the community, one, does not accept these parents to be amongst them because they feel like once again they don't understand why your child is acting that way. I have personally been to an event where a mother pulled her child away from my son. I think her understanding was the fact that this thing was going to rub off on her child. And so she pulled her child. So that I have experienced where the community does not accept these mothers. And we become the silent of the forgotten people, or totally forgotten because the community accept us. And they don't create a safe haven for us to be able to just come out and be like other parents.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah, I've been in that show before, even before I started raising awareness. Most often, as a parent of an autistic child, you feel isolated. You don't feel like you belong to your community because you are being treated differently, so you don't feel involved, and that in itself it's quite painful. Even now, if I talk a lot about it, I'm going to get emotional at some point, but we are talking about burnout, so we already know what we can do to avoid getting emotionally overwhelmed. Mom Sewa, what about you? What would be some of the causes of burnout as far as special needs parents are concerned?
I think for most kids, I would say for most moms, it's like lack of sleep
Yes.
because you're going and going and going. And I think we need more hours in the day than most moms do. So if you're lack of sleep for anybody, you know what's going to end. And again, I think I have said, it's a stigma. Stigma causes the burnout because when people are not accepting you, or they're not accepting your child, or they're
Mhm.
saying things, you come home or wherever you go, you're feeling so deflated all the time. So, I mean, this is what I said when you feel so alone. This causes the burnout. And culturally, even what we have here, although I didn't experience that much from my family, only a few people, but it takes a thick skin, even when your own family members are calling you names and you can't, there's nowhere to go. Now you have family and extended family, we have a big one in Africa. And people are not accepting you and they're talking behind you. You walk into the room with your child and you know that you are the topic or they have been talking and it's all passionate. It causes a lot of pain. And then sometimes in your face they're smiling and they don't really care. And there's no one to help you with your child.
Yeah.
And you feel like and I feel the cause also is for us mothers because we think we can do everything.
Yeah.
You can do, over and above. And that was me because I'm doing it all. Or in the school, you're doing for your other child and you're doing this, and you're not doing anything for yourself, for me. And I
Mm.
think that for me, it cost me a lot of burnout because
Yeah.
I sometimes I don't even know if I to even get the bath in the morning after your children are they're gone or you have to. It's like before you have to worry about he's coming home at 11:30. Can you imagine your child goes to school in the
Mhm.
morning at 8? By 11:30, when he was in kindergarten, he was being dropped off. So what do you get time to do when you're there? It's like the little time you have to plan around it, and your mind is constantly on overdrive. And
Yeah.
this is me. When I sit back now and think back, I'm like, oh boy, what did I do to myself? I could have destroyed my life because he was constantly going for others. He
Yeah.
never came to me. And I think
Mm,
that's a huge mistake that we make as parents.
yeah. Thank you so much for that, Mom. Yeah, I think most often now, especially when we've realized ourselves, we've understood our children's condition. Sometimes we look back and we are asking, why were we getting so worked up or so feeling so worried? But sometimes I still think that it was necessary then because we were still going through the learning process. We were still trying to take in everything that is happening. So much was happening, and being the parent of an autistic child or special needs child, sometimes I doubt this statement that they say it takes a village to raise a child. Because when it comes to the parents of an autistic child, um, we are basically left with our own children. Yes, but over the years, we've discovered that most often, most people do not do it intentionally. It's because they do not know what to do. And all of us here, we know that with with awareness sessions and a lot of talking and teaching, so many people now are getting involved. Friends, families are getting involved. So, Auntie, so what about you? What were some of the causes of you experiencing burnout? Okay.
Most people, I think, right now, as I'm saying, is that lack of early
Mm-hmm.
interventions. Because most people, if they can get that, the moment child is diagnosed, if you can get that early interventions with speech, physical therapy, behavior modification, it minimizes or decreases those behaviors that escalate, that makes mom get
Mm-hmm.
so agitated or burn out. Because even if the cultural, just like everybody said, I had the same thing, cultural, you can have a house full of everyone. But because of our cultural beliefs and
Mm-hmm.
meaning or understanding or the barriers, most of the things that
Mm-hmm.
come to child rearing belongs to the mom. Even when we're in the diaspora, the dads are almost like disciplinarians or something,
Mm-hmm.
but people still have that mentality that it's the mom's responsibility to go to therapists with the child to go here. We're trying to change that script, but it's still going on. And another thing is the cultural thing has a lot. Even when I go to Sierra Leone, one of those children are there. I will see a child with autism sitting in church. As they start making the hands, one of the ushers came and asked the boy to leave. So I go, and Junior was with me. My son was sitting right with me in church. So I got up and followed her. I said, "Why did you want him together?" She said, "Oh, he will sit there and make a lot of noise." So I have to
Mm-hmm.
explain to her. I say, "You see my son there? There is going to be a time when he make noise. What you need to do, let him sit down. Tell him if you sit down and you lower your voice
Yeah.
after church, I'll give you something or other thing." So just educating that one usher in that church. Every time I went to church, that boy will come and sit down and he'll be excited, but he will lower his voice because after that, they'll give him some donuts after church. So sometimes those little things, but the mom now will be embarrassed. And I was so embarrassed, I was fear
Yeah.
of embarrassment if even going to church. But when my son was so aggressive, if we go to church, if he wants something, I don't give him. If he hold my hair, he will pull my hair and everybody's watching me and tears running. I'll get up, trying to hold him and let's go. And this is a boy who was so heavy. He was just like 8 year
Yeah.
old, but most of them can get so big. I couldn't even lift him up. And now he'll be going out of church, down, walking, excuse me, down the pre, holding my hair like this while we are running and he's screaming. Or I have to hold him, drag him, or people will come and help me. So all of those embarrassments just made me, I stopped going to church until we got all his behavior under control. And with our society and our culture, even going to just like Auntie Sawi was saying or Bernadette was saying, when you go places, as you start coming, it's almost like, oh God, there they come. You can see all the eyes on there. They have this fake smile. It's almost like I hope she's not going to sit near me with that boy. So you already go, you already have that premeditated notion in your mind, like everyone here just looking, and you are praying, please God, whatever I do, I say all my Hail Marys. I hope you just behave for half an hour until we get out of here. So most of those, like us in the diaspora, we have more privilege that at least we have places that children can go to school. But people
Mm-hmm.
back home, they don't have that opportunity. They don't have those facilities. So if a child is doing that, especially women who are married in polygamous marriages, the husband will say, oh, it is not me, and these women are not there. So it's this wife's problem. So in Sierra Leone, most of my students, that's what I see with the moms, the husband disowning this child because it is not his fault, it's this mom's fault. So most of those can cause more anxiety, more depression for these women, but they have no
Mm-hmm.
outlets like we do in the diaspora.
Okay.
So if we can get all of those women other things and a way for us to even talk about it can help decrease so people don't know I'm not alone.
Yeah.
Somebody else is there with me.
Okay.
And when I was making with Junior, I have no other Sierra Leonean that I or African I can even relate to. There
Mm-hmm.
was nobody. He was the only black child in his class. And you are alone all the time crying. You have nobody. It's almost like, what can I do?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Thank you
Mm.
so much for that. And to anyone watching, we are discussing special needs burnout. We are discussing the symptoms, the causes, prevention, and treatment or support. And whatever we are discussing here, I hope you watching will not take it as we are complaining or we are making a pity party here. One of the things which we have learned is we share our experiences as special needs mom. We share our experiences because we want to educate, because we want to empower, and that we want to give hope to anyone out there who is in the same shoe. And because you don't know tomorrow, everyone sitting here, you cannot say never. The child will never, I will never have an autistic child or I will never have a special needs child. So education, awareness, these are very important. So we are actually educating people here and we are doing that education through the sharing of our experiences, what we've experienced in the past with our children. And probably we are still going to experience some of this in the long run as they are getting older. Different behaviors, different challenges come up as well. And over to you, Pei. What about you? What do you, if you've experienced burnout before, what do you think were some of the causes? Maybe two, then we move on to Mary.
One of the causes has to do with the cultural belief. Like I know my connection, my connection was not good, so I did not hear what the others said. But in the early stages of when I had the diagnosis of my son, it was really, really tough for me.
Mm-hmm.
Besides that, people did not know that my son was autistic. Just my husband and I and close family members knew.
Mm-hmm.
So the questions that kept coming, like, oh, why is your son so naughty? That was the first thing, or the thing that people mostly told me. Why
Yeah.
is he so naughty? Why is he running carelessly? The questions were so, so, so hurting. And, you know, I had not accepted, so I could not. They were asking me questions that I didn't have answers myself.
Mm-hmm.
Questions that I was trying to get answers that I had not had the answers, but people expected me to give them that answer. So a
Yeah.
lot of times when I went for like parties, like mom was saying, I went into the bathroom. Sometimes I'll cry. I'll try to hold it on, and I used to do like blaming myself all the time. Why me? Why me? Why me? And you sit in the midst of people, you realize that I was playing alone with my son because no one understood how to play with him. So
Yeah.
I would have to initiate the play with him because
Mm-hmm.
only me could play with him at that time.
Yeah.
So while others were busy, I was busy trying to keep him involved and interacted as well. So some of the causes for me was mainly the questions that came from individuals, close family members and friends,
Okay.
and strangers as well. Like mom said, the eyes. You go into a party and people start looking at you or staring at you, or people come and when he's hyperactive, they start looking at you. And at one point, what helped me was like I came to self-realization that if I have to stay quiet, not introducing my son to people, it's
Mm-hmm.
going to hurt me the more. So what I did was, before you even ask me a question or before you even notice that he was being hyperactive, I'll explain to you he is hyperactive because he is autistic. That is why he's behaving the way he's behaving.
Okay. Yeah.
So that helped me. The fact that I had to tell people about my son before them asking me those questions, it actually helped calm me down and helped me to accept him for who he was
Okay.
more
I
as
think
well. Yeah.
I think we are still going to go to what actually helped. So we are still looking at the causes at the moment. And Marie, just make it brief. Quelles sont les causes de la fatigue mentale? The causes. Okay. Did you hear me? The causes of
Yeah, yeah,
now, yeah.
yes, I can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
Ok. Je pense que les principales causes de la fatigue mentale, c'est l'isolation.
Yeah.
L'isolation, c'est une des grandes causes parce que quand son enfant est diagnostiqué, le fait que les gens ne comprennent pas ce qui se passe, on le traite de sorcier, parfois on le traite de mauvais esprit, et parfois tous les amis te fuient parce que s'ils viennent chez toi, l'enfant va tomber sur eux, il est agressif, il va les salir, et tout ton cercle s'écroule, quoi. Oui, quand
Mm-hmm.
ton cercle s'écroule, tu te retrouves seul, tu as toujours tendance à avoir pitié de toi-même, ta vie tu n'as personne avec qui parler, d'abord, et puis
Mm-hmm.
tout le monde t'abandonne. Et puis toi-même, tu ne comprends pas ce qui se passe avec ton enfant. Et tu vois les espoirs que tu avais pour ton enfant disparaître. Et pour moi, ça, c'était la plus grande cause. Parce que quand je voyais mon fils, il était né, il était très, très beau, il a grand, étant bébé, très jovial, vraiment. Et puis, subitement, ce n'était plus lui. Et tous les espoirs, tous les rêves que j'avais de lui ont disparu. Et toi-même aussi, tes ambitions, quoi. Et peut-être j'avais envie de repartir à l'école, tu avais envie de poursuivre une carrière.
Yeah.
Maintenant, tu te retrouves 24 heures sur 24 en train
Yeah.
de s'occuper de ton enfant.
Mm-hmm.
Et ça aussi, ça cause la fatigue mentale, la dépression et tout ça. Là. Donc, je vais m'arrêter là.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you so much for that explanation, Mary. And one of the things which I also discovered that can actually cause burnout is when the mom, when you do not have a lot of support, especially in the house or at home, and that you have to take care of the child, you have to take care of the rest of the household, and then you still have to go to work. Sometimes it's really draining as well. So thank you once more, everyone, for watching. Everyone, I mean, each and every one of us, whether you are the parent of an autistic child or not, we do experience burnout. Even special needs teachers, even teachers, doctors, professionals, people from all professions, they do experience burnout at some point in their lives. But for the purpose of our show today, we are concentrating on special needs burnout. Um, that overwhelming emotional feelings from that comes from being a special needs parent. And so now we are going to move on to what can be done. What is it that we can do to prevent burnout? I'll start with you, Auntie Sowo, then move to Ben, to Mom Sewa, Marie, and Pei.
For parents who are home, who are not in the diaspora or who don't have access to most of the facilities that we have here in the diaspora, if
Mm-hmm.
you have a child
But
who is born, whether they've been diagnosed or not with autism or
George?
special needs, Don't treat that child like
No,
any
20 minutes.
different than your other children. From the time you start noticing that that child is having behavior problems or acting different like the other children, and there is no doctor or no specialist to tell you,
Mm-hmm.
start teaching that child little things that you do. If the child is not able to feed themselves, take the spoon, put the child and start feeding. Because the more our children become independent, the less stress we, the parents, are going to be. But what I notice is most of our community, when a child have a disability, they baby that child so much, they don't allow that child to do much for themselves. And by the time they get older, it becomes more tiresome and more demanding on the parents. So if you are watching this and you are home and you have a child that is not able to do much, and that child is small right now, start.
Mm-hmm.
If that child is a teenager, it's never late to start teaching them. They
Yeah.
may have deformities or other things in one hand. You can use the other hand and just practice. They cannot use metal spoon, but they can use their plastic spoon. You do little thing in their abilities. You see what can my child do. If your
Mm-hmm.
child is not able to do blocks or other things, see. And you don't have to buy expensive things. When I go to Sierra Leone, I just start with what they have in their house. Sometimes we can just sit down and play with the rocks for them to just take rock. It's just like how they hold the Legos. So little things that we have in our home. If it's broom, if they are teenagers, teach them to sweep, teach them to wash their faces. Every little thing that that child can do for themselves, you the mom, that's one less problem for you or one less stress for you rather than doing all. Because
Yeah.
as mothers, we end up or want to do so much for our children that we forget that we're going to get older and the child is going to get older and we may not be able to provide everything alone.
Yeah.
Teach your child how to do as much as they can for themselves within their abilities. They may not do all, but they can do small,
Mm-hmm.
and that
Well,
can help you.
that's brilliant. So it's teaching our child independent or self-help skills. No
Yes.
matter their ability, they are capable of learning
Something.
something.
Yes.
If they are struggling with getting dressed, you can help them. Ask them to lift your hand, put your hand in here, put it there.
That's
There, there are so many things we can do actually to help our children who have special needs to help them with their self-help skills. You can do half of it and they do the rest. That's how you start. Yes,
and also, let me just add to that. And just like if children cannot do something, I started with just laying the clothes out and help your child pick what they want to wear. If you
yes.
know any of these outfits can be okay, put it down. So even just giving them that independence of choosing their own clothes, you don't mind. So put them on
Yeah.
the bed and say choose it. They may
Mm-hmm.
not be able to do, but they can choose it or point to it, and you clap for them. Little
Mm-hmm.
things like those can really help. If they
Yeah.
cannot able, if they are in Africa, they wash in buckets.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody can take that buckets to the bathroom for them. You give them the soap with this hand that is not working. You put the sponge there, and they rub the soap. You are standing there, you're assisting them. So for them to even be able to do that, or you put the toothpaste and they brush their teeth with a good hand, is
Mm-hmm.
something that make them feel good about themselves.
Yeah. Wow, that's brilliant. So
Mm.
teach your child self-help skills, independent skills, and also encourage them to be able to make their own choice as
Yes,
well. In as much as we want to help them, we can also give them that independence to be able
exactly.
to choose what they will like. Over to you, Ben. What can be done to prevent burnout?
Absolutely. For me, I think absolutely help to prevent burnout is that Auntie Soa, you spoke for the parents who probably don't
Mm.
have access to these resources. I would like to speak to the parents who have the resources and are not using them. This is specifically for my parents, especially of African origin in the diaspora. You cannot do it by yourself. Absolutely not. Once you see or someone brings it up to your attention, especially that mother who has more than one child, because I get the excuse that, oh, I'm a first parent, and I don't think there's nothing wrong with my child. I don't argue or fight with those parents, but I bring it up to their attention that it would be a good idea have this child assessed. I'm not giving you a diagnosis, even though I will be more than glad to give it and I can see that there is one that will eventually exist if you do the assessment. but you cannot do it on your own. When someone brings it up to your attention, look into it. Early intervention works. I have proof of that in my house. It absolutely works. So please, you cannot do it on your own. You absolutely cannot. You're going to need help. And so seek that help, especially when you have all the resources right there looking at you. One thing I wanted to say again is like that there's no reason why there should be only one, two, three, four, five of us, including you, the host, six of us who are talking about this. That's because there's still a lot of parents. I am absolutely sure that when you reached out or you sent a note to some of the parents who could absolutely be on this forum, they feared of the world to know that they too have a child with some type of special needs. You're not alone if
Yeah.
you're listening. I work with a lot of you in the background. Don't want to call in the phone. That's okay. I can respect that. But once again, you cannot do it alone. You can't.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much. So someone once said to me, because we are in the diaspora, we know that there are resources, but at the same time, if you don't go out to look for those resources, it sometimes those resources will not come and look for you. So you also have to read around, you have to ask questions, and also open up with the fact that you have a child with special needs. Because if you don't tell, nobody will come and talk to you about your child. So you have to actually show and prove that you are in need of these resources in order to be able to have the help. Yes, the key word from Ben is you cannot do it all alone, which is very, very true. We need that extra helping hand. And if the resources are there, let's make use of the resources. Over to you, Mom Sewa. Let me unmute her. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thank you for what you both said. And to continue on both, because for somebody who has lived in the diaspora for many years and also living in Ghana and working with people in Africa. First of all, I want to say to parents that we can't do everything that you have just said. But when we say we are found support for you, I want to talk to parents that we are trying in Ghana and in Africa. I know so many people are trying, and we have meetings, and we want to train you to know how to help your child. Don't think we have time to waste. We just out of care because we know what we have been through. Because we have been through, you name it, we have been through it all. And so we do parent training. It's number one. You need to learn and unlearn and relearn. And we are trying to help. So don't say you're expecting, you have a meeting that you're expecting about maybe 30 people and 3 people show up. Well, maybe we've got specialists, we've got all the resource persons. It takes time to organize these people and get them together. Don't think that, yes, bring your children. And sometimes we say, oh, we have child care. And so people don't show up. We are even providing transportation. And so people don't show up. It's so disheartening. So disheartening. Because parent self-help books is what we need. We need to find like-minded people to work with the people who will understand. This is why the centers have been. I am proud to say, since I started the center here, so many centers have started in Ghana and across Africa. So the people who have trained, and so many people, I'm so happy that all of you here, especially the parents, that the people now that you can get this resource from, it's not only the parents in the diaspora that are not accessing resources. It is over here, even in the city of Accra, that you have told somebody and they expect you to do it for them. No. As you mentioned about feeding, you tell them as you teach the child, to feed themselves, self-help skills. They go back home, then they go and sit down and see this child. So the child who has both limbs. And what because you think it's faster? Because sometimes I know I come hard on parents, but because I know people who have done it, because if you don't put in the work, don't expect the results. I tell parents this, you must absolutely put in the work to do this. Otherwise, you're going to be fatigued. And I wrote some things down. You need family. And sometimes, when your family, some of them don't want to know. But if you don't ask for the help, maybe somebody has once been mean to you or they have the right thing. Keep asking because trust God. Trust God. And trust God, and God will bring the people your way. If you sit down and you're feeling all sorry for yourself and saying, oh, there's no one. There's a case recently that this woman came and the child takes flights. She's about 10 all the time. She's a hairdresser. I said to her, can you come and work at the center? Because during the week, you don't have anything to do. Come and learn about autism, learn about special needs. On weekends is when you get to start. She has become one of our best parents and parents because she's willing to learn. Like I said, we have to learn and relearn and keep learning because it is on you that not just the mother and the fathers out there, if anyone is listening, you need to support. You need to support. As Ben said, it is important that you ask for the help. You have to ask for it. And I want to say one more thing here that, you need to ask for therapy. If you find yourself that the way things are going, talk to people at church, and those who don't understand, you must look carefully. There are so many psychologists now that are training coming up. You need to talk to a friend that somebody can lead you to, because it's very important that you talk to others. You can't do this alone and be crying. I've gone through the stages of crying all the time and re-crying and crying. The times that it's even now at 38, the tears still come. It's not because I've done this for so long, but I'm human. And the burnout, yes, you got therapy and there are times you just have confusion. And then you don't know, you don't see a clear light at the tunnel. But then you go to yourself and whatever support system you, for me, it is first my family. And thankfully, in Africa, we can get help at home. You talk to some people to say, oh, get an extra carer in the home. And they're so, especially those who are very educated, and they don't want their house to be, disturbed, or what do I say, that somebody else coming to live in the home with them. Then you're going to suffer. Because they say they come with their, but yes, it's difficult. You keep trying and trying and trying again. Because labor, thankfully, is cheaper here. So you can, from my house, I just got some people. My house girl left, and I am doing this all over and over again, training some people. It's important that you find the help. It is very important. And when we have found the help, to come and train you and get you the necessary things, this is what I really focus on. Please come to parent training, find a social care. It is important. Without it, you will be alone. And your child is growing. As I so they get big and bigger and bigger. They become, my son is a man. And right now, he's out there. He went to the restaurant today and sitting outside because he understands COVID. He will tell you, not inside, not inside, because we told him, you don't sit in the restaurant anymore. You have to teach your children.
Yeah.
You have to keep teaching them and teaching them self-help skills, community care. They have to be part of the community, part of the family. I know I'm on my soapbox, but sometimes I just do these things. I just go on and on because parents have to understand. You have to push it and drum into their heads that they cannot do it alone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mom. Thank you so much. So, Mom says one of the ways to prevent burnout is, as a parent, you have to learn, you have to unlearn, and you also have to relearn. And she said you have to also put in the work, because you will not have a result if you haven't put in any work. So, Marie, over to you. Let's look at some how can we prevent burnout? Yeah, that's
Mute.
fine.
Euh, Merci beaucoup. Euh, les autres ont déjà parlé de beaucoup d'interventions très intéressantes. Moi, je vais beaucoup m'accentuer sur la santé physique aussi. Parce que la santé mentale, si elle n'est pas, s'il n'y a pas de santé mentale, la santé physique aussi va souffrir. Donc, ça commence, c'est le cerveau qui commande le corps. Et si le cerveau ne fonctionne plus bien, le corps va suivre. Donc, moi, j'ai toujours, je vais prendre l'exemple sur moi-même. Parce que quand mon fils a été diagnostiqué, j'étais perdue et tout, ça m'a pris du temps pour accepter. Mais quand j'ai accepté, j'étais déprimée. Après, j'ai commencé à me battre pour chercher les moyens pour l'aider. Et plus je le faisais, et le manque de sommeil et tout ça là, j'ai commencé à réaliser que je prenais du poids. Je prenais beaucoup de poids, mais pourtant, je ne mangeais pas. Et puis, j'ai commencé à avoir des petits maux par-ci, par-là. C'est la tête qui fait mal, c'est le bras qui fait mal. Et sans savoir, je vais faire les examens et tout va bien et tout ça. Et tout ça, quand vous voyez le stress, ça cause l'inflammation, ça cause beaucoup de problèmes de santé. Et ce que j'ai toujours dit à mes parents, que je dis au Cameroun, c'est que si vous faites un régime alimentaire pour votre enfant, vous devez le faire vous-même. Vous devez le faire vous-même. Commencez d'abord vous-même. Et moi, par exemple, ma règle, c'était si je vais donner quelque chose à mon fils, je dois me donner d'abord moi-même. Et c'est aussi une façon pour moi de savoir si ça me tue, au moins ça ne va pas tuer mon enfant. Et c'est aussi, et si ça me donne les maux de tête, je sais que oui, ça pourra donner les maux de tête à mon enfant. Donc, ce n'est pas quelque chose à lui donner. Et quand j'ai commencé le régime alimentaire gluten-free, casein-free que tout le monde connaît à mon fils, j'ai décidé de le faire avec lui parce que j'ai senti que c'était pas bien pour lui d'être le seul à s'abstenir et les autres mangent tout à la maison. J'ai décidé de le faire. À ma grande surprise, après 2 mois de régime, j'ai perdu à peu près 5 kilos. Wow. Et j'avais souvent de l'acné. L'acné est parti, ma peau s'est éclaircie. Les gens me demandaient, qu'est-ce que tu fais? Donne-nous le secret. Je leur dis, non, je ne mange pas le gluten. Et ils ne croyaient pas. Et depuis ce jour, ça fait 5 ans aujourd'hui que je n'ai plus jamais mis le gluten dans ma bouche. Et quand vous regardez si je vous montre les photos d'avant et les photos de maintenant, c'est comme si maintenant je suis plus jeune que j'étais avant, il y a de cela 5 ans. Donc, moi, je pense que non seulement on doit demander de l'aide, on doit parler, si on est déprimé, on doit s'approcher des autres parents, il faut chercher du support, mais il faut trouver du temps pour dormir, il faut trouver du temps pour faire ce qui nous plaît. Par exemple, si on aimait souvent danser, il faut toujours trouver du temps d'aller danser. Et en même temps aussi, il faut aussi prendre soin de notre physique. Il faut prendre soin de ce qu'on met dans la bouche. Parce que moi, mon père m'a souvent dit quand j'étais enfant, si tu veux vivre longtemps, évite de manger n'importe quoi. Bon, à l'époque, je ne comprenais pas ce que ça veut dire. Et maintenant, je comprends vraiment. Donc, notre alimentation, il faut faire les exercices. Il faut, même si on ne part pas au gym, on peut mettre la musique, on danse. C'est ce qui est bien avec l'Afrique. On met la musique, on met les bikoutsi, ça nous secoue, on transpire. On a déjà fait le sport. Et il faut tout ce que vous prenez pour votre enfant, vous pouvez aussi le prendre. Si vous prenez quelque chose pour aider avec son inflammation, si vous prenez le magnésium pour le calmer ses nerfs, Pourquoi ne pas calmer vos nerfs aussi?
Okay.
Prenez-en aussi. Et ça, c'est quelque chose qui m'a aidé et je pense que ça va beaucoup, ça aide beaucoup de parents aussi. Donc, je
Wow.
vais m'arrêter là.
Merci beaucoup. So you concentrated on the physical aspect of it, because if our mental health is not okay, our physical health is also going to suffer. And one of the things you've said can be done to prevent burnout is we have to be mindful of what we eat, what we put in. And you gave an example of your dad telling you when you were a child that if you want to live long, you should be careful with what you eat, which is quite good. And another thing which you said, it's also advisable that anything you want to try with your child, you try it with yourself first, because if it has to kill your child, then it should have killed you first before. So, thank you so much for that. And Pei, what about you? From your experience, what did you do, or what have you done to prevent burnout? Just briefly, so we move on. Okay. Hold on. Let me unmute you. Yeah.
Okay. I guess everyone has said basically everything that I will have to say. It would be kind of like a repetition. But
Mm-hmm.
on my part, what I did was, first of all, acceptance. Accepting the condition of my son did
Mm-hmm.
help me a great deal, because when you accept, then a lot of things will fall in place. And equally educating the people around you by letting them know what autism is all about, and equally taking care of your mental health, like Marie said. Doing the things, for me, I do the things that make me happy, which has to be dancing and looking towards the positive side of things, and always being motivated and just watching and looking the things that would motivate me, and equally looking for all the good in positive, all the positive and good things that comes with autism, because I believe that they have a lot of uniqueness. There's a lot of uniqueness in autism. So I concentrate on the positive side of it and encourage my son the things that he likes to do. And equally, I would, yeah, just try to seek advice like you guys said. So like I said, everything that you guys have said, most of it is what I do or what I did. So, but the first thing was acceptance, educate the people around me, and take care of my mental health. Because if I'm not well, definitely I can't
Yeah.
raise my son properly. Yeah, so
That's true.
that's what
Yeah,
I've got to say.
thank
Yeah.
you so much for that. And also having time to rest, sleep, and also to be able to delegate some of our activities or some of the chores that we have to do around. We've been live for 1 hour 22 minutes, so we are just about to round up. And also, yes, we all know we've talked about the causes, the symptoms, prevention, what we can do to avoid being burnt out. Yes, in as much as we know all these things, sometimes we still struggle. There are still people out there who are currently struggling with their mental health or with burnout. Once you are already in that situation, how can you be supported? What can be done? How can we help such people, and which support can we seek out for? Because I read about the symptoms of autism, of sorry, the symptoms of depression and burnout, some of them are quite similar. At times they can be confusing as well. So you might be experiencing symptoms of burnout and experiencing symptoms of depression. So you are somewhere in the middle. You don't know whether it's depression or it's burnout. So Bernadette, would you help out? What do you do if you're in such a situation? Will you go to be diagnosed with depression or with burnout? And how can you seek support? So this is probably the last question for the show. So we just round with whatever each and every one of us is saying now. We should just be rounding up the show. Thank you.
So pretty much asking whether someone should absolutely go for the diagnosis, I will honestly say once you find yourself at where, like you rightly said, the symptoms of burnout as well as depression, they are pretty much similar. I would honestly suggest that you do absolutely discuss it with your primary care physician or you talk to a clinician because they'll be best suited to be able to differentiate that for you. And so that would be the best thing I would suggest. In my own personal experience with the case of burnout, where I was able to differentiate where burnout and depression was, there were some similarities. The one thing that was different, that did not show up in burnout, that is present in depression, is the fact that you still have interest, even though you may not have the strength or that initial power to start off and do the things that you still like, there's still interest. And I will give you an example.
Okay.
I, at the time I was a little girl, dancing has always been my personal thing. I grew up absolutely that I wanted to be a dancer.
Mm.
And my parents were like, hell no, that's not going to happen. So when I graduated, when I graduated from undergrad, from university, I remember the day when I was wearing my outfit and I put my cap and gown in my hand and I was about to leave. My parents were here. Told my dad, I said, you know what, I still want to be a dancer because I remember that one incident back home where I got drafted into a dance team and had to go to Palais de Congrès to dance. And my dad said, over his dead body, I'm not going. I still remember that incident. And so I told him on that day, I said, well, I still want to be a dancer. And he said, okay, we still haven't forgotten. We're still talking about this dance thing. Well, you can go ahead and be a dancer on one condition, that you become a dancing doctor. And that I did. I am a dancing doctor. That means I absolutely dance professionally as well. And
Oh, yeah. I actually see you do kizom. Is it kizomba? Oh
correct.
my God.
And so absolutely. And so when I sent my first video to my mom, she was so excited and she had to show it to my dad. And my dad said, well, who's this young lady dancing? She dances so well. I was like, yeah, that's a dancing doctor right there. And so I still find myself interested in doing that. I still want to dance, even though a few minutes ago I was just crying in the bathroom, washing my eyes, getting ready to go to class. The interest is still there. With depression, you don't even have that interest. You don't even have it. Not only do you not have the energy to wake up, wash your face, get dressed, you don't even have the energy to even want to. You don't have the desire to want to do that. So I still have the desire to do it. Even if I go to class and that one music plays and I cry, and I'm like, why is she crying? I'm like, hey, don't worry about it. Move on to the next thing. Let's dance. So the desire is still there. That was what the big thing. So I still have the desire, irrespective
Okay.
of the other emotions that come in.
Wow, that's brilliant. Yeah, because I was actually wondering now. I think I have a better understanding now with depression. There's that absolute there's that loss of interest in what you used to enjoy doing, what you used to in those pleasurable activities that you used to like doing. But with burnout, the desire, the interest is still there, and the energy is still there. That's brilliant. So, Mom Sewa, um, final
Hi,
word,
Van.
what to do to support it, someone who is
To
already suffering with burnout. What can they do? Just a few words, and then we round up.
organize plans to go dancing. Hey, find some people. Yeah, all dancing. Yeah, and this is what we try to get from parents. And for me, thankfully, in my school group, when I came back to Ghana, I was able to go to very good meetings and things, and that kind of thing. And we're right now in group. Sometimes we save money and we choose a fancy restaurant. We deserve it. The difference between depression and burnout is the burnout where you can get support, then you can go about and do something. So for me, as Bern has said, I'm coming to Atlanta, Bern. and so we can go dancing. This is absolutely necessary. You must do something for you. You have to, when you find that way out, like a group of us here, we have to share our email addresses so we have that connection all the time. WhatsApp number, some of you, we talk quite a bit. And these are the things. You have to constantly look for the people who can be positive in your life. You don't want the people who will come and it's always oh, it's me and mention the crying and yes, for me, once I have cried, I dust off all the tears and whatever. I'm ready to boogie, ready to be positive, ready to advise and mother and let them know it will be okay. Because it's most for me, it's been great having to support other mothers and fathers. When you see some father in my arms because they just got a diagnosis, and sometimes I'm asking myself, they got booger all over me, and but I get a certain satisfaction because if they are able to sit down and say, "Oh, mommy, I get it. I now understand. Oh, I'm going to do the things you asked me to do. Like, oh, I'm brushing the teeth. I'm taking my time." And I say, call me. Only don't call me at night because, but being able to talk and counsel other people or putting yourself out there, if you can, not everybody can. But I found that for me, it's like a special high that when somebody I said, oh, my son can now do this. And I just praise the Lord. Oh, my son, that you see a child doing better. Because for 22 years I've been doing this, and there's so many reports out there. Recently, when I had my birthday, and even the children, the things that they were able to say through text or communication systems, and the things that they can, that the parents are happy. That makes me happy. So I try to be as positive as I can be. I said, yes, the times of depression, anxiety, and depressive states come in, but I have said to God that it is not my portion. Depression is a serious, serious, serious illness. But I know when I find myself going down, I said, no, I can snap out of it. Not everybody can, but you encourage more people to be, because the more positive you are, I believe, it helps a lot. But the days that I did not have any help, it was it was horrible. That I was alone. And when they called me the cold mother, I don't think any of you remember those days when they said we were cold mothers,
Yeah.
and those days. And it was, you have another child who is doing very well, an A student, and then you have this child, and they tell you don't love your child. So for me, friend, we'll keep dancing. Let's all keep dancing. That's all I can say.
Thank you so much, Mom. And I like singing. Sometimes, occasionally, I dance, but not professionally like Bernadette. But that's absolutely important. We have to do the little things that will really keep our moods in a better position for us to be able to manage our children. And so, yeah, being in the midst of positive people, if it's time to cry, you cry, but wipe the tears and carry on. So, Marie, what are some of the things that we can do to support someone who is experiencing burnout? So, just a few words, then we round up. Yeah.
Oh, um, it takes me time to switch to
Okay.
switch my brain and think I need to speak French. Sorry.
Okay. That's all right.
Euh, oui, qu'est-ce qu'on peut faire quand on se sent déjà, on sent la fatigue mentale et c'est comme un peu les traitements quoi qu'on a déjà suggéré et
Comment
la,
on peut supporter quelqu'un qui a...
pour supporter quelqu'un. Ok,
Oui, pour supporter quelqu'un.
pour supporter quelqu'un. Ok. Ok, donc c'est en fait, moi je pense qu'il faut avoir un système ici on appelle ça buddy, un système où tu as quelqu'un qui est une maman autiste qui est souvent là que quand tu es bas, tu l'appelles. et vice-versa. Quand quand elle aussi se sent mal, elle t'appelle. On vous on vous perd ensemble. Et je pense que dans chaque communauté, il y a toujours un parent. Tu vas te rapprocher d'un parent qui semble un peu plus, qui est semblable à toi, et vous vous entendez. Et chaque fois que tu te sens mal, c'est mieux de prendre le téléphone, appeler la personne. Le plus souvent, la personne va te faire réaliser que ton enfant fait peut-être plus de progrès que son enfant et que tu n'as pas à te plaindre et te montrer ce qui est positif dans ta vie. Bon, autre chose, comme la mère a déjà dit, il faut sortir quand il y a une activité, et il y a la fête, il ne faut pas rester caché à la maison. Il faut sortir. Et il faut être, comment je peux dire, il faut être fier de notre enfant. C'est-à-dire, il faut marcher avec notre enfant. Il faut le montrer à tout le monde. Il faut montrer à tout le monde que ça, mon fils n'a rien de mauvais. Il n'y a rien de sorcier en lui. Et vous allez voir, quand vous montrez ça aux gens, les gens n'auront plus l'occasion, ils n'auront même plus le courage de venir vous demander que, oh, pourquoi il fait comme ça, oh, pourquoi il fait comme ça. Donc, il faut être fier de votre enfant. Ça veut dire, partout où vous partez, vous l'amenez. Même si après, vous devez rentrer parce qu'il a piqué une crise là-bas. Mais vous êtes quand même parti et on vous a vu avec lui. Donc, moi, je pense que il faut être ouvert, il faut sortir, il ne faut pas rester à l'intérieur de la maison. Et il faut appeler au secours, appeler les gens avec qui vont vous comprendre, surtout les gens qui vont vous comprendre, les gens qui peuvent vous écouter. Même s'ils écoutent seulement, ils ne vous donnent pas de solutions. C'est très, très important de se dégager au lieu de rester avec tout ça là-dedans. Bon, moi, c'est ce que j'ai à dire.
Merci beaucoup. Yes, we have to have that buddy, that person you will be able to talk to when you are experiencing difficulties, and also for that person to be able to call you as well to talk to. Any final words as far as support is concerned? And yeah, Auntie So.
Can I say something I did not say about what to help? I didn't contribute to that.
Yeah.
For me, what helps if you are going through the burnout, number one, is know your child.
Yes.
What are the things that precipitate your child's behavior? What are the things that will make your child have a meltdown? If you know those things or anticipate it's coming, what are the auras? If my son is going to start throwing things, what do I do first before he throw that thing? If you know that you can anticipate, so even if guests are coming, you know that 1 o'clock, like right now, I know my son wants his lunch by 12 o'clock. When I joined you guys, it was 12 o'clock California time. So what I did was I made his lunch. I did everything. I put it there by 11:45. He will not eat it until 12 o'clock sharp. But I made sure I told him lunch is here. Don't knock here. Mommy's going to sit in the guest room. I'm going to be here. So he did not come, everything. But if I hadn't done that, he would be coming and making all his sounds because 12 o'clock he wants his lunch. So if you anticipate this is what's going to happen, you prevent them even before family is coming or visitors are coming. You already know this will minimize his behavior. But what we forget as parents, sometimes we know this is going to happen, but we still don't even read our child or know the child or what are the things that we going to push the button on this child. Then number two is the day and time also, just like the same one. Then the support system in your community. It may be your church members. It may be your alumni association. Maybe it's a woman's group, a man's group, anybody that you know are there. If you have even 10 minutes that somebody can watch that child, make use of that 10 minutes and for yourself. Sometimes you don't even need to go out, you just go for a walk, go around the house. Just being away from that situation really helps me. Sometimes just to go walk around. When Junior is really into that stage and his dad say, okay, I can watch him, I just go outside and walk down my street and come back. By the time I come down, my temperature has decreased. And if you have to, just like everybody said, if you have opportunity to get professional help, sometimes people just talk to you, just like I was talking about the support group. Maybe a professional will just talk to you about your coping mechanism. How can you cope? If you are doing this, what do you do? And those are all the things that we go through. So I thank you all. And even now, the best thing I do is laughter. I turn everything my son does into laughter. When I have a younger child than my son, my youngest is 24. When Junior used to see my youngest child crawling to come to him, he would just take his whole table of his food and move to another way. So I laugh because I will never get upset. He doesn't want the baby to come near him. Everywhere the baby comes, he will just take his whole table of food and go, and the baby will crawling after him. So we turned that into laughter. Even now, I'll be sitting watching my show, he will just come and take the remote and change the channel to whatever he think I should watch. So we laugh about it, and that has helped us as he grow older. That don't take everything too serious. Just laugh about it because there's nothing you can do. You can learn so much about them, and
Yeah.
that's what I have done. I have been now, I'm now like almost, I tell my husband, we are all autistic in this house. We do things like how it's supposed to be. And eventually, those of you who have younger children, by the time your children are older, and this we can tell you, you're going to be autistic because if anybody change anything that you don't want, you really get upset because I want things just like how we done it for Junior. We go to the hotels, that's how we put our stickers on. Nobody should mess with anything. So you become autistic too. So I laugh about it now. Hey, what are we going to go on the floor today? And I was showing you, those of you on Facebook, you saw his birthday was coming. We have the cake. He did not want to cut the cake because he has to go do his laundry. We have to stop the cake. He can't put clothes in the washer and he came back. He will not do. So we just go with the flow. When it's something,
Yes.
change it. Don't be too rigid on changing. Just like how they don't like changes. You go with them. If they say, I don't want to play ball right now, I want to do this, just go with it to minimize your stress. If that can make any difference, let it be. But don't take it too seriously. Everything, just relax, enjoy it, and just know that they are autistic, but they are not crazy. They just do things different than how we do it. So
Yeah.
what do you do to survive? You do things the way they do it. There you can be okay.
Wow, that's brilliant. So we we can equally adjust the way we do our things to suit
Exactly.
in order to minimize anxiety as well. But one of the things I picked up from what you said is with our children, we work proactively
Mm-hmm.
in order to minimize any challenging behavior. So if you know that at this particular time, this is what your child has to do, you make sure you prepare yourself
Mm-hmm.
before that time in order
Exactly.
to avoid any outbreak of challenging behavior, because once that child starts having a challenging behavior, it's very very likely that you the parent
So go all high, high.
will also have a challenging behavior, especially if you've not really understood exactly why or how that all started. So pay over to you for a last word of support, then we end the show. Thank you.
What I have to say is share your experiences, especially with someone who is just getting a diagnosis,
Mm,
because people who are just getting into knowing that their kids are autistic will actually find it very, very hard and difficult to accept. So
mm,
if you come across someone who is just getting into the diagnosis, share your experiences with them and make them understand that they are not alone, and equally make them understand that autism, for me, I always say autism is like a third sex where you've got a boy and a girl, and then autistic become the third sex, which is just knowing what autism is about and just knowing their isms and equally supporting them. So it's sharing your experiences and helping to support someone who has just gotten into the autism spectrum. And you guys go, you have a community where you can, from time to time, go and have fun, chat about it, laugh about it, and
mm.
just release your mental stress about the entire experience.
Okay. Thank you so much. And we now come to the end of our show. And it's been a good experience, a good learning curve. And if there's anyone out there who didn't know that he or she's experienced some form of burnout, this what we discussed today is really going to help you. And it's good to know that burnout is real. It can affect anyone, whether you're a parent of a special needs child or not, or whether you're the teacher of a special needs child or not. Burnout affects everyone. But because we are all special needs parents, we had to concentrate on special needs or parents with autistic children. But you have to know that You have to look out for the signs, you have to look out for the symptoms in order to be aware of what to avoid or what to do when you're becoming too overwhelmed or emotionally overwhelmed or too stressed. Then you have to know that you have to look for help, because untreated burnout will equally lead to probably mental health issues, depression, or other forms of mental health issues. So it's absolutely important that we know what it is we should be able to pick out what has actually happened, the causes, or what has led to the burnout, and then we seek help. So it's very important to seek help, because burnout can actually turn out into physical illness as well if left untreated. And so we come to the end of our show today. So you take care. You
Thank
have
you
a
for having us. Thank you.
great start of
Thank
the
you
week.
all. Thanks for being with you.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Bye,
Thank you.
Bye.
everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Bye.